The NCL Getaway is a fan favorite, but does it still hold up for a short cruise in 2026?
We recently experienced the Getaway for a 4-night cruise in the Bahamas, and we experienced everything from the incredible live music to the flashlight sheriff in the theater.
It was definitely a trip of extremes. We found hidden gems that saved our vacation, but also some logistical headaches, especially with boarding, that you need to be ready for.
So come along with us as we experience the good, the bad, and the confusing. Everything from the freestyle dining to whether free at sea is worth it for you.
Let's see if this ship is right for you in 2026. Okay, we're going to start out talking about the embarkation process, or boarding blunders.
Oh my gosh, it was a blunder. It was
really
terrible.
It really was. Now, normally, this was in Miami, and normally, we sail probably out of Miami more than any other port. And Miami is a pretty well-oiled machine,
Yeah, it is.
for Carnival, MSC, Royal, all of them. But the one thing was, we got out of our Uber, and there was no porters anywhere.
No, it was really weird.
It was odd. It was really odd. And we got our bags out of the car, no porters around, and there was just a lot of people just sitting around, and no port. We didn't know what to do. So we had to start asking around, and finally, after a couple of minutes, we found a porter that finally took our bags, and it was weird. It was really a strange process.
It just didn't flow. I think if we weren't veteran cruisers, we would have really been very uncomfortable with the entire process.
Yeah, because it was not a well-oiled machine like we're used to.
No, absolutely not. And then when we finally were going to check in, they wanted us to go through some facial recognition. Okay, great, no problem.
Which we've done before.
Which we've done before, but it didn't recognize our faces. So then they said, oh, you've got to go over to this line. Except they didn't really tell us where the other line was. And then they said, oh, forget it, go around the machine. So it was just really, really weird to check in. Yeah. So then our next step in the check-in process was really the big mess. So I had done, realistically, for like the first time, I was bidding on an upgrade. I'd never bid on upgrades before. I thought, what the heck, let's try it this time. It's the holidays. And 71 hours before we were to board, I got the email saying that our upgrade had been accepted, and our bid had been accepted, and we got the upgrade. Great. Now that 71 hours matters because the check-in process you have to do within 72 hours. So when I went in right away, when we got the upgrade, come to find out, in the process of all that, the computer had deleted most of Chris's information. Most importantly, the credit card. So the credit card was attached to me and not to him. And so I called up customer service. They said, 71 hours, gonna have to deal with it at check-in. Okay, no big deal. So we finally get to check in, and the lady immediately tells us there's no credit card linked to Chris's information. And we're like, yeah. And she's like, would you like me to take care of that? Of course I would. Except she didn't have any credit card readers. NCL, why are you not giving your people the equipment that they need to do their job? Okay. She says, well, when you get on the ship, go to customer service, guest services immediately. We'll take care of that. Just that whole process was just ridiculous.
It was odd. It really was.
And it didn't make a whole lot of sense.
No. And then after that, our check-in time was 9:30. So we got there probably about 9:40. We went through that whole process, and then we go up the elevator to the waiting area, and there was not a lot of seats. Their lobby for waiting is pretty small.
It's pretty small.
And we were fortunate to get a seat, but a lot of the people that came after us, they were sitting on the floor. Just really strange. And they got a big waiting area, but they just don't have enough seats for everybody.
Yeah, it was the chairs that were the problem. So you had people sitting all over. You had a bunch of people fighting around the outlets kind of situation. And it just really was hectic and not very well put together at all.
Yeah. And then finally, at about quarter to 12 o'clock, somewhere in there, they started boarding the priority, the Haven people, those kind of things first. So It took probably a good 2 hours plus for us to get on the ship after getting through the check-in process. So
that was a lot of time.
It was a lot of time, and we understand that a lot of times you do have to wait, with debarkation and people getting off the ship and everything. But normally when we checked in, whether it's Carnival, MSC, usually we check in and we're able to just pretty much walk right on the ship. Not in this case, though.
No, and they just didn't have enough to keep people comfortable.
No.
They had a little water, that was it. I don't know. It just wasn't a very good start to the day.
No. Okay, so about noon we were able to get on the ship. We got on the ship. We immediately went to our muster drill, which was actually kind of cool. It was like 30 seconds away from where we got on the ship. We went and did that. It was probably the smoothest muster drill we ever did.
And then you have to watch a video in your room.
Yeah. And then from there, we asked where guest services was. They said 1 floor down. So we went down 1 floor. And next thing you know, we're at guest services and there was a big line.
So yeah, I stand in line because I was told to immediately go to guest services. So I'm standing in line for probably a good 30 minutes before, because they only had 2 people working the guest services. They had certainly more stations and computers available, but they only had 2 people working, which frankly isn't enough, especially on boarding day. I finally get to the front of the line, I explain my problem, and the lady looks at me square in the eye and says, "Oh, well, we haven't changed over the financials from the last cruise yet. So you're just going to have to come back in a couple of hours." And, oh well. And I mean, I got a half-hearted apology for the inconvenience, but I mean, I was like, wait a minute, you're boarding the ship. You told me to come here and you're not even ready to do this very simple transaction. I come to find out later, there was actually a different line that I could have gone into to get that fixed. But by the time I found that out, it was closed. So again, lack of communication. We had to come back later, spend almost another hour in line to finally get this fixed. And that's just ridiculous for something that was their fault.
And not only that, why didn't the person at guest services just tell you to go to the other line?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the communication was terrible. I was not very impressed with any of the guest services people. They either didn't have enough of them. So maybe they're overworked, and I get that. But their guest services really needed an adjustment.
And if you're enjoying our content, be sure to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell. It really helps us out with the YouTube algorithm, and we really do appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, now we're going to talk about our cabin. Now, we got on the ship roughly just after noon. And on most cruises we've ever been on, usually around 1:30, the cabins are open. So you can go to your cabin, you can drop off your bags, whatever. That wasn't the case on this cruise. We sat by the pool for a while. I did a little videotaping, and we started looking at our watch, and we're like, it's 2:00. What's going on? Finally, around 2:30 or so, they started saying that they were going to start opening up the rooms based on what deck you were on. And since we were on deck 8, we were basically one of the last rooms to open.
Yeah, of course, we were the last in the last wave.
And so we did not have ability to get into our room till basically 3:00 in the afternoon. So yeah, it was just weird.
Now, when we had gotten on the ship, they had offered a luggage service where they would hold your bags. Now, we just had backpacks, but still, that they would hold on to that kind of stuff until the rooms opened. Now, I never took advantage of that because, frankly, we've never needed it.
No.
I mean, we've normally, on MSC, you can go straight to your room. It was just kind of a weird situation. I mean, once we got to the room, it was a really nice room.
It was.
I mean, it was clean, it was comfortable. One thing I really liked about this ship is they had lots of USB ports. They had USB ports on both sides of the bed. So for plugging in, we have equipment and stuff. So plug-in spots are important for us. And this room had a lot of that. And it was a nice, comfortable room. But yeah, I was a little surprised at the process.
Yeah, balcony was nice. It was a little smaller balcony than we've normally had in the past, but we had the room upgrade bid, so maybe that played into it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it was smaller than we've had for balconies in the past. It was nice to have a balcony, but it wasn't very big. It certainly wasn't something you're going to sit out for hours and drink coffee kind of thing.
No. But overall, the room was very nice, though.
Yeah.
Okay, next we're going to go over the entire ship and what we thought of it. This was a pretty nice ship. We'd classify this as kind of a mid-sized ship. It holds about 4,000 people. Not huge by today's standards, but also not real small. I thought it was renovated in like 2024, and I thought it was well laid out. It was real easy to navigate. I personally really liked the Spice H2O adult area up on the top aft on deck 17 or 16 actually, deck 16 in the back. And it had a couple of hot tubs. It had a real large screen that they used for some of the parties at night, that kind of a thing. And that was a kind of a nice, fun spot to get away from everything.
Yeah, and during the day, it's adults only.
Yeah.
So that was kind of nice. And it was a really nice, quiet place to kind of hang out. The other place I really liked on the ship was the waterfront, which was on deck, was it 8? 8. Yeah, deck 8. And so it's meant to be, part of it is outside dining for some of the different specialty restaurants. But they also had just random, nice shady spots that you could just sit, and comfortable chairs and Adirondacks. And it was a nice place you could sit in the shade, and it was relatively quiet. At night, it was a great spot to enjoy the ocean in the evening and stroll. I really liked that area on the ship. I think some ships don't put a lot of effort into some of those outside areas. Yeah. And they really put it. This one's really nice.
And it had a lot of seating out there on the waterfront too.
Oh yeah. We always found seating.
Yeah. Sometimes, they have these spots, but they just don't have enough seats. And this one did. The only I think negative that I saw on the whole ship, and it wasn't even that big of a deal, was the pool deck itself, I thought was a little bit on the small side. And when they did the sail away party, it just felt a little cramped.
Yeah.
But outside of that, the whole layout of the ship, I thought really flowed well.
Yeah, I thought for some of the ships we've been on, it really was laid out very nicely and pretty easy to get around.
Yep.
So one of my biggest concerns when we booked this trip was finding out that NCL is all freestyle dining. There's no appointments or there's reservations for specialty dining, but that's it. And I was a little worried about that because we've done that on other cruise lines, and it's been chaotic to say the least.
And long waits.
I will definitely give NCL credit. They got this down. It didn't matter which of the main dining room restaurant, and we didn't do any specialty dining on this cruise, but we went to all the different main dining rooms, and we were able to get in usually within 5 minutes. And the service was in there pretty quick and pretty easy. So I will give them credit. I really like the Manhattan room. That is a more formal main dining room, and they have a live band in there. And so that was kind of nice. Some people were even going out and dancing. But they had a live band, but it wasn't obnoxious for while you were eating. You could definitely have a conversation, but it was nice to have that in the background.
Yeah, kind of on the same wavelength as almost like elevator music. It was kind of low key.
It was low key. It was, you could hear it, you could listen to it, but it wasn't overwhelming.
No.
So then we also went to Savor and Taste, which were two of the other main dining rooms. And the menus and all of those are the same. We went to Savor for lunch. So we tried their lunch, and that was really good. Really good. Yeah. They had a fish fry that was going on. That was fantastic there. And then we also went to Taste. So, the main dining rooms were really good. And then one night we also went to Oceans. Now, Oceans is kind of meant to be a more casual bar and grill kind of situation. But it's also the place on the ship that you go for late night. They have the late night food options are all in that area. And so we went to Oceans a few times. And the food was really good.
Yeah. We had the wings. I highly suggest trying the wings. We loved those. I had a cheeseburger there. That was pretty good.
I had pretzel bites that I really liked. And the spinach and artichoke dip was really good.
And then I had like a loaded nachos. That was a little on the spicy side, so be careful if you're not into spicy foods. But overall, Oceans, I think, had a lot of good, munchies type food.
And again, we never, even at late night, we never had to wait more than 5 or 10 minutes to get a seat.
No, and then in the main dining room, they had some real nice options of rotisserie chicken, which I really did enjoy. They had some of their appetizers. I had like a potato soup that was really good.
Oh, that bruschetta.
And the bruschetta.
Bruschetta was really good.
Yeah. They did have some misses. I'd say a fair amount of the food in the main dining room, I kind of considered a miss. The brisket, they sliced it really thin, but it was pretty tough. And so a lot of their main dishes in the main dining room, I was not overly thrilled with overall. The rotisserie chicken was good, but overall, I thought there was some misses there. And then lastly, the buffet. It's a well laid out buffet, and we always found a seat. Personally, I thought the food in the buffet was average at best. I thought other cruise lines did a better job with the quality of the buffet, like Royal. I've never had a problem with. And
I thought the buffet was okay. I mean, it wasn't amazing. It wasn't anything that was like write home about, but I thought it was C. It was average.
Average at best.
It was average.
I thought.
Yeah.
So just something to think about. But so some of the food is good, some of it isn't. I think you probably have that on most cruise lines, but I was just slightly disappointed overall in the quality of the food, especially in the main dining room.
So I'd say one of the highlights of this trip and one of the biggest pros we saw on the NCL Getaway was the entertainment. We really enjoyed most of the entertainment that was on there. The first big place that we absolutely fell in love with was Sid Norman's Poorhouse. We just showed up there because they said, oh, there's a rock band and we like the rock music. This venue was fantastic and the show that was put on by those performers was amazing.
Yeah, it was very interactive too.
It was very interactive. You had a live band, you had 4 singers, 2 women, 2 men, and they went into the audience and it was so much fun. And I really enjoyed that particular show.
Yeah, if you like 70s and 80s rock, then this is the place you're going to want to go in the evenings.
And then on the last night, that same band was in the main theater and they did a Fleetwood Mac Rumors show. Now, not my favorite band, not my favorite album, but the show itself was outstanding.
Yeah, it was.
They didn't just play the songs, but they talked about them and what was going on when they were being recorded. And it was really good.
Yeah.
I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it was an A+ for a show in the theater that dealt with music and concerts, yeah.
And the other lounge singers were really good also.
Yeah.
You know, we kind of floated around and a number of them were really good also.
Yep, definitely. They also had a comedian, both in the main theater as well as in the headliner comedy show club. And so he was funny.
Oh, the Newlywed Game.
Oh, the Newlywed Game, yeah.
Yeah, we went to the Newlywed. We happen to love that. We usually go to that one on most ships. It's usually a
Love
really
and
good
marriage
time.
is what they call it on most of the cruise ships.
Yeah, love and marriage, Newlywed Game. You know, they ask people questions and it's usually really funny. The only problem I had with this one is I kind of liked how NCL picked the people. If you wanted to go, you could put your name on a piece of paper and they drew it out of a hat. That was really good.
That was good.
The problem was, unfortunately, 2 of the couples were related. It was like a mom and a daughter kind of situation. And so none of them really wanted to get into some of the funny stories. And so they were all holding back because they were kind of embarrassed. And so I kind of wished once they knew they were related, they'd pick somebody else.
Yeah.
But regardless, I don't know. It was. I mean, they can't all be winners.
It was still enjoyable, just not quite as funny as we've seen on some ships, but that's not NCL's fault.
No, it was just, I just wish once they knew that they were related couples that they'd have made one of them go back, but whatever. Yeah. And the last major show we went to see was their main, I guess, Broadway production, was a Back to the 90s show, which I had a really good time at the Back to the 90s show. It was
fun.
It was a lot of music. It was based on different themes. You had songs from movies, songs from TV shows, and it was a lot of great nostalgia from the 90s, you know, so it brought back a lot from that, you know, college era for me anyway. The only thing about that show is just kind of some stuff that was going on in the background.
The flashlight sheriff.
The flashlight sheriff. Oh my gosh. Captain High Beam. We came up with a few names for this guy. He was just really funny.
Oh my gosh. They had a little sign when you entered. It said no videotaping. And
which is normal.
Which is normal. But I've never seen a situation where an usher was literally running down the steps and shining a flashlight on people that they saw, you know, with their camera up. I mean,
or just their phones.
Or just their phones. I have never seen anything like that in my life.
No, this guy would run up and down the aisles and he'd take his flashlight and he'd like be shining it on people in the middle of the
and
show.
Pointing at them.
It was almost like a sideshow to the regular show.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even subtle. I mean,
no.
We'd be sitting there all of a sudden, you know, you just see this streak go by you, and it was just like, wow, what's going on, and we're thinking, oh, is something, a fight or something? Nope, he's just shining a flashlight on somebody to put their phone down. And we get it, they don't want to be disrupted in their musical performances, but I've just never seen that much of a crackdown on it.
Yeah, it was very aggressive. And like I said, it almost became a show within a show to see who he was going to chase after and point the flashlight at. So now let's talk about NCL's private island, Great Stirrup Cay, which was one of the stops on this particular cruise. So I don't know if you've been paying attention, but Norwegian has been working on some upgrades to Great Stirrup Cay, probably to bring it more in line with its next door neighbor, Royal Caribbean's Coco Cay. So they're adding a number of things. They were putting in a pier, which we found out was open on the next cruise. We didn't do that. We had to tender, but after that they opened the pier. But then they're also planning a whole bunch of additions, and they were adding in a pool, they're adding in a splash pad, they're adding in a water park. So they're planning all of these really awesome upgrades. Well, come to find out, they'd opened the pool and the splash pad, but they didn't tell anybody.
No, they didn't. And it was a complete shock to us. We got off the boat and we're walking around, and I stumbled across it, and it was probably about 11 in the morning, maybe even a little later. And the place had about maybe 15, 20 people in it tops. Yeah. And the splash pad for the kids was completely empty. It wasn't until later in the afternoon, like around 1:30, 2 o'clock, that I went back there. We both did. And there was a fair amount of people there by that time, but it was not publicized or anything.
No, but I mean, because we would have totally done the day differently if we'd known that pool was open.
Completely, and nobody at NCL told anybody about it. It almost felt like kind of maybe a soft open. Yeah, I guess would be the way to say it.
And some of the staff said they had just opened it a couple days prior
before we got there.
So we were one of the first ships there.
We were one of the first ships there. The pool is not currently heated. I've been told that it's going to be, so stay tuned for that.
But it definitely was not when we were there. It was cold.
It was cold. It was very cold.
And we're Midwesterners, so it was cold for us.
Yeah. Now, we do have also a video of that entire pool and everything. If you want to check it out, in the description down below, I'll leave a link for that. But it is a nice pool.
Oh, it's beautiful. And I thought the chairs were nice. There were tons of seating. I liked that there were lots of umbrellas. All that is going to be free, so that was really nice. Yeah. So I really liked what they had there. I just wish they told people about it. Yeah. And maybe it was just a soft opening, but I thought, boy, NCL, I mean, compared to what some of these other places are doing with their new islands, they really should have tooted their own horn a little bit, I guess.
A little bit, but yeah.
So our last category we're going to talk about today is the category of value. Let's talk about the money. So this was a 4-day Bahama cruise. We went to Great Stirrup Cay and we went to Nassau. So those were our 2 stops in 4 days. Originally, we had booked an interior cabin, and that was $600 per person. So not a great deal, but you need to realize it was a holiday cruise. It was over Christmas. And so, we were in holiday pricing, and we knew that. We knew that going into it. I mean, it is what it is. Now, I thought the value improved when our upgrade was approved, because our upgrade, we had bid $125 to get the balcony upgrade. So once it became $725 a person for 4 days in a balcony room, well, then the value definitely was a little bit better, especially considering a holiday cruise.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is it is a holiday, but it still, to me, was a little pricey, considering that on World America, we had a 7-day cruise on World America, and we paid like $1,000 a piece, and that was for an extended balcony. And on the Carnival Firenze out of Long Beach, we had a 5-day cruise with a balcony, and that was about $500 a piece, something like that. So it hit me a little bit harder looking at it, even though it was a holiday cruise at $725 for 4 days. But it's a holiday. And
so, I mean, it kind of was. And our package included what they called free at sea. And so we got 75 minutes of internet, and then we got a $50 credit for excursions. And so I'm shopping through the excursions, what are we going to do, particularly in Nassau. And what was really weird to me was that most of the things that I might have wanted to even consider doing you couldn't use that short credit on there. So it ended up being just a waste for me. We never even used it. There were so many things that were excluded in the ship credit. I don't even know why they even have it. It was really kind of a waste.
It's a selling point.
We just, we just let it die. I mean, we didn't even use it at all. So that part was a little disappointing. I mean, having a little bit of internet was kind of nice. But otherwise, the value, especially for a holiday cruise with the upgrade, I think it turned out to be okay in terms of value.
Yeah. So that's our trip on the NCL Getaway.
So it was some good, it was some bad, it was some weird.
And confusing.
It was an okay trip overall. But what we really want to know is, was our experience on the NCL normal? This was our first Norwegian cruise. Or did we just stumble into an unusual situation? Leave a comment below and tell us about your experience with Norwegian Cruise Lines or specifically on the Getaway. We love to hear from you.
That's right. And if you're interested in anything else NCL related, we do have a playlist going. So be sure to check that out. Until then, see you next week and happy cruising.
Happy cruising.